The silk dress whispered against my skin as I smoothed it over my hips in front of the full-length mirror. Deep plum, almost black in low light, yet rich and commanding when the light caught it right. I had chosen this color deliberately. It wasn't soft or romantic like the pinks and creams I used to wear in my 20s. This was the color of quiet power. The color a woman wears when she has already decided that today everything changes. 35 years old, the fine lines at the corners of my eyes were no longer invisible unless I smiled very carefully. 10 years of 2 a.m. spreadsheets, 10 years of hospital corridors smelling of disinfectant, 10 years of listening to just one more research grant. Naomi, I promise this is the big one. Those lines were earned. They weren't mistakes. They were receipts. Today was our 10th wedding anniversary. Most wives would be preparing champagne flutes, booking a table at the kind of restaurant where the menu has no prices. I had done exactly that once, 7 years ago, when I still believed anniversaries were sacred punctuation marks in a love story. Tonight, I had something else planned. I opened the top drawer of my vanity. Nestled inside black velvet lay the red box. Rolex Daytona, custom dial. I had it ordered 6 months ago after Elias, half drunk on faculty wine, complained, for the 3rd time that month, that his old leather strap, Timex, looked undignified for guest lectures and donor dinners. I remembered the exact tone of his voice, the little frown between his brows. I always remembered. I closed the box again and slipped it into my evening clutch. My phone buzzed once. Brenda, everything is arranged. Mrs. Dixon, Eagle's Nest Campus Pub. The chef is doing the exact steak and cheese subs you wanted. Old school, extra onions, the way they made them 10 years ago. Tables are set for 2 in the back corner, same one you sat in after the wedding reception when it was pouring rain outside. I smiled at my reflection. Perfect. Keep Elias completely in the dark. If he asks where I am, say I'm at a late client dinner in Georgetown. Already done. He thinks you won't be home until after 10. Good girl. I'm leaving now. I ended the call, took one last look at the woman in the mirror, and whispered to her, "You gave him 10 years. Tonight you take them back." The garage lights came on automatically as I stepped inside. The black luxury sedan gleamed under the LEDs, another thing I had bought. Another thing he drove without ever once saying thank you. I slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and let the gate slide open onto the quiet, tree-lined street of our Potomac villa. This house, every brick, every rose bush in the garden, every light fixture in the foyer, I had chosen, paid for, fought for. When we bought the land, it was just an overgrown lot with a crumbling 1950s ranch house. Elias had stood on the cracked driveway and said, dreamily, "Imagine what we could build here someday." I had imagined, and then I had built, for him, for his mother Vivian's dialysis treatments, for his sister Tiffany's endless emergencies, for his research, for his ego. The city lights of Washington, D.C. were just beginning to sparkle as I crossed the bridge. Rush hour had eased. The streets felt strangely peaceful. I turned the radio off. I wanted silence. I wanted to hear my own heartbeat. 10 years ago, we held our wedding reception at the Eagle's Nest campus. Pub because we couldn't afford anything else. The rain had been biblical. My white dress was splattered with mud up to the knees. Elias's only suit was too short in the sleeves. We danced on warped floorboards to a single speaker playing someone's Spotify playlist. When the bill came, $187 for 30 people, he looked physically ill. I paid it with the last of my student savings and told him, "We'll laugh about this someday." He took my hand that night, rain dripping from his hair, and said the words I had carried like scripture ever since. "Naomi, suffer with me now. And when I succeed, I will repay you 1,000 times over." I believed him. I believed him when he said we didn't need a big wedding. I believed him when my parents begged me not to marry into a family that didn't know the value of anything. I believed him when he promised that love was enough. And for 10 years, I turned that belief into action. My inheritance became seed money. My MBA became strategy. My sleepless nights became the anchor group, a small chain of upscale, casual restaurants that grew, location by location, until we had 38 outlets from Richmond to Boston. I built an empire so Elias could play the part of the contemplative academic, who never had to worry about rent, health insurance, or his mother's next hospital bill. I never asked for gratitude. I only asked for loyalty. The old oak trees that lined the Georgetown University campus hadn't changed. They looked exactly the way they did the night we got married. Tall, patient, indifférent. I parked in the side lot behind the maintenance sheds, the same place Elias used to park his rusted bicycle when he was a broke PhD student. I checked my lipstick one last time in the rearview mirror. Red, not soft rose. Red like fresh arterial blood. The moss-covered cobblestone path to the pub felt smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had simply grown larger, shoulders, broader from carrying everything alone, stride longer from walking away from men who expected me to shrink. The wooden door was slightly ajar. A thin stripe of warm yellow light spilled onto the stones. I smiled. The janitor had done exactly what I asked. I was reaching for the handle when I saw it. Parked behind a hedge of dying oleanders, half hidden but not hidden enough, was the black Mercedes S-Class I had given Elias last month. The car I bought to celebrate his successful doctoral thesis defense. The car whose lease payments still came out of my company account. My pulse spiked. Coincidence? A surprise of his own? For one fragile second I let myself hope. Maybe he remembered. Maybe he too wanted to come back to the place where we began. Maybe the man who once kissed me under these same oaks still existed somewhere inside the stranger, who now lived in my house. I moved closer, quieter. The heels I wore had soft leather soles. They made almost no sound. Then I heard the laughter. Not group laughter. Not friends preparing a party. A young woman's flirtatious giggle, high, practiced, syrupy. And beneath it, unmistakable. The low, warm timbre I had fallen asleep to for a decade. Elias. "You are such a tease," the girl said. "Why did you invite me to this godforsaken place?" "It's safer here. More intimate." His voice dropped, intimate in exactly the way he used to speak to me in the early days. "Besides, this place holds a lot of memories. I want to create new ones with you. Erase all the old, outdated ones. Erase." The word landed like a slap. 10 years. 2 children. 1 failing mother-in-law. 1 spoiled sister-in-law. 1 restaurant empire. Outdated. To be erased. My fingers tightened around the red velvet. Box until I felt the edges bite into my palm. I should have turned around. I should have driven home, packed a bag, called my lawyer at midnight. Instead, I circled the building to the back kitchen entrance. The same door I used to sneak through when Elias ran out of meal. Vouchers at the end of the month, and I would slip him extra ones I'd bought with my work-study money. The door was ajar. I pushed it open an inch. The smell hit first. Damp, whitewashed walls, old fryer grease, and something sweeter, perfume, cheap vanilla and jasmine. The kind sold in department store gift sets. Then the voices again. Closer now. I pressed myself against the wall and listened. "You little silly," Elias was saying. Voice thick with tenderness I hadn't heard in years. "With me here, why worry about money? You focus on studying. I'll take care of your mother's illness and your tuition. You're a talent. You're my muse. I won't let you be stained by the dust of the world." My blood turned to ice water. "But where will you get the money?" the girl asked. "I heard your wife controls the finances very strictly. Does she know you're helping me?" A pause. Then his voice changed. Flat, venomous. "Don't mention that bitter old woman. She ruins my mood. What does she know? Apart from money, and more money all day with her head. Buried in account books calculating losses and gains. She's such a materialistic person, so dry. Every time she opens her mouth, it's to talk about projects and contracts. Next to her, I feel as suffocated as I do in a jail cell. Bitter old woman. Materialistic. Dry." The Rolex box felt suddenly very heavy. I closed my eyes for 1 second, only one, then opened them again. I would not cry here. I would not break here. I edged closer to the narrow crack between the kitchen door and the frame. Under the weak yellow light of a single filament bulb, Elias sat in one of the old blue plastic chairs we used to share. On his lap was a thin girl with long black hair. White university shirt unbuttoned too far. Short skirt riding up. His hands, those same hands I used to bandage when he got paper cuts in the library, were stroking her bare back. She giggled again. "Elias." And then she said my favorite part. "The deadline to pay tuition is almost here. And my mom back in Mississippi is very sick. I don't know how I'm going to manage. I think I'll have to take a semester off." He pulled her closer. "You focus on studying. I'll take care of everything." I already knew who she was before I saw her face clearly. Chloe Miller, senior English major, $10,000 merit and hardship scholarship recipient. The girl who had taken both my hands at the award ceremony 6 months earlier, tears in her eyes, and said, "Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. You are the benefactor of my life. I will follow your example to become a successful woman." She had followed my example, apparently, just not the way I intended. The kitchen door flew open with a dry, splintering crack as my heel connected with it, harder than necessary. But the sound felt right, satisfying. like the snap of a bone that had been waiting too long to break. Elias jerked upright so violently that Chloe nearly tumbled from his lap. She scrambled to her feet, yanking her shirt closed with frantic fingers, cheeks flushing the color of cheap rosé. Elias's face drained of blood in stages. First the lips went white, then the cheeks. Then the skin around his eyes turned the gray of old newspaper. He stared at me as though I were a ghost summoned by a seance gone wrong. Naomi. The word came out cracked, barely audible. I didn't answer right away. I stepped fully into the dining area, letting the kitchen door swing shut behind me with a soft thud. My heels clicked once, twice, 3 times across the chipped linoleum. Measured, deliberate. The same rhythm I used in boardrooms when I wanted everyone to feel the weight of the next sentence before I spoke it. I pulled out the blue plastic chair. Directly across from them, the same one Elias and I had shared on our wedding night, when we split a single basket of fries because that was all we could afford. I sat, crossed my legs, folded my hands neatly on the table. The red velvet box I left resting beside my clutch like an unspoken accusation. Elias swallowed. What? What are you doing here? I tilted my head, offering the smallest, coldest smile I could manage. Isn't today our 10th wedding anniversary? I thought we should celebrate where it all began. Romantic, don't you think? Just like old times. Chloe made a tiny sound, half gasp, half whimper, and tried to edge behind Elias. He didn't move to shield her. His hands stayed flat on the table, fingers splayed as though he were bracing for impact. I let the silence stretch until it hurt. Then I leaned forward slightly. You were saying something interesting just now. Let me see if I can remember the exact words. I tapped one manicured nail against my lower lip. Ah yes, bitter old woman. Materialistic, dry. Suffocated like in a jail cell. Did I miss anything? Elias opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Naomi, this isn't... Don't. My voice was soft, but it cut like surgical steel. Don't insult me further by lying. I heard enough. I saw enough. Chloe's eyes were huge, glistening. She looked exactly like she had at the scholarship ceremony. Wide-eyed, vulnerable. The picture of grateful innocence. Except now the innocence was weaponized. Mrs. Dixon, she began in a trembling whisper. Quiet, one word. She flinched as though slapped. I turned back to Elias. 10 years, Elias. 10 years I carried your family. Your mother's dialysis. 3 rounds of it before we found a donor match. Your sister's credit card debts. $17,000. The last time she needed help with an emergency in Miami. Your research grants. Your wardrobe. Your car. Your pride. All of it paid for with the money you now call nauseating. His jaw worked. You always throw money in my face like it makes you superior. Superior? I laughed once. Short, bitter. No, practical, because someone had to be. While you wrote papers on the soul of modern folklore, I made sure the light stayed on. While you lectured on poetic purity, I negotiated with suppliers at 4 a.m. so we didn't miss payroll. You wanted to be the noble intellectual. Fine, I let you. But don't pretend you didn't enjoy the fruits of my dry materialism. He pushed back from the table, chair legs scraping. You think I wanted this? You think I asked to be kept like some pet? The word landed. Kept. I felt it in my ribs like a dull blade. Yes, I said quietly. I think you did. And I let you. My mistake. Chloe reached for his arm. Elias, don't... He shook her off without looking at her. His eyes were locked on mine, wild now. You never understood me. You never tried. All you cared about was the next deal. The next expansion. The next zero on the balance sheet. Chloe, she understands. She sees me. The real me. I looked at the girl. Really looked. Chloe Miller, 22, English major. Scholarship recipient. Courtesy of Anchor Group's annual Rising Scholars Fund. My signature on the approval form. The same hand that wrote the check was the one. She now used to clutch my husband's sleeve. True love, I said, tasting the words like ash. How noble. Tell me, Chloe, if Elias were still the broke adjunct professor he was when we met, driving a bicycle with a broken chain, would your soul still connect so deeply? Or is the connection stronger because of the Mercedes in the parking lot? The one I leased last month? Her mouth opened and closed like a landed fish. I didn't wait for an answer. I stood slowly. I came here tonight with a gift. I picked up the red velvet box and opened it. The Rolex caught the dim bulb light and threw it back in sharp. Prisms across the table. Custom. Exactly what you wanted. Because I still remembered every complaint you ever made about your old watch. Elias stared at it. For one heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes. Shame. Maybe regret. Then it vanished. You think a watch fixes anything? He muttered. No, I said. I don't think anything fixes this. I closed the box with a soft snap and set it back on the table. Not for him. For me, a marker. Proof that the woman who once loved him enough to remember his smallest complaints was gone. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning, I said. The words came out calm, final. Full custody of Marcus and Sasha. The villa is mine. Premarital asset. Separate property, prenup signed and notarized. The Mercedes goes back to the company fleet. Your research funding from Anchor Group ends tonight. Your supplementary cards are already frozen. Your mother's kidney transplant consult next week? Cancelled. The hospital has been notified. Elias lurched forward. You can't do that to my mother. I already did. My voice never rose. You said my money was suffocating. Consider yourself unsuffocated. Chloe started crying, soft, theatrical sobs. Mrs. Dixon, please. We didn't mean... Save it, I cut in. You took my scholarship money, my company's money, and used it to buy the outfit you're wearing right now. The perfume. The weekend trips you thought I wouldn't notice on the statements. You're not innocent. You're calculated. She flinched. I turned back to Elias one last time. You wanted to erase the old memories. Done. They're erased. Enjoy your pure, noble love. Let's see how long it lasts when the bills arrive. I walked toward the door. Behind me, Elias shouted, Naomi, wait! We can talk about this. I didn't stop. But just as I reached the threshold, the front door of the pub banged open. Vivian and Tiffany swept in like they owned the place. Vivian in her usual cashmere cardigan, bought with my card last Christmas. Tiffany in platform boots and a leather skirt that cost more than most people's rent. They froze when they saw me. Then they saw Elias and Chloe. Vivian's eyes narrowed, not in shock, in calculation. Naomi, she said, voice syrupy with false concern. What is all this? I smiled, thin, lethal. Mom, Tiffany, perfect timing. Come in. The show's just getting started. Elias stepped forward quickly, voice shifting into wounded son mode. Mom, look what she's doing. She came here to humiliate me. She thinks because she has money she can destroy us. Tiffany crossed her arms. Naomi, seriously? Airing dirty laundry in public? My brother's a professor. Have some class. I laughed, genuine this time, cold and bright. Class? Ask your brother about class. When he was dry humping, a student on university property. Ask him about ethics when he used my research grants to fund weekend getaways with her. Vivian walked forward slowly, cane tapping. She looked at Chloe with something almost like approval, then at me, with the same reproachful stare she'd given me for a decade, every time. I said no to another of her little requests. Naomi, she said, a wife must be patient. Men stray. It's natural. If you kept him happy at home, he wouldn't need to look elsewhere. Blame yourself first. The words hit like ice water. I stared at her, the woman whose life I had literally bought back with millions in medical bills. Endless flights to specialists, nights sleeping in hospital chairs. You're defending him, I said slowly. Vivian lifted her chin. My son is special, a genius. He needs understanding. Not a woman who only knows how to count dollars. Tiffany nodded vigorously. Exactly. Chloe's young, sweet. She gets him. I looked from one face to the next. Elias, defiant. Vivian, smug. Tiffany, entitled. Chloe, tear-streaked and triumphant. And in that moment, something inside me settled. Not broke. Not shattered. Settled. Like a judge lowering the gavel. Very well, I said. You've made your choice. All of you. I picked up my clutch. Elias, enjoy your freedom. Vivian, Tiffany, enjoy your principles and values. Chloe, enjoy being the muse. I walked past them without another glance. But as I reached the door, Vivian called after me, voice sharp now. You think you can just walk away? After everything we've been through as a family, I paused, turned only enough to meet her eyes. Family? I said softly. No, parasites, and tonight the host cuts the cord. I stepped into the night. The oak trees rustled overhead. The breeze smelled of rain and campus grass and the faint, dying perfume of betrayal. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply got into my car, started the engine, and drove. Toward the penthouse I had bought 2 years ago in secret. Toward the new life that had just begun. And somewhere behind me, in the yellow light of the old pub, 4 people were only now beginning to understand what erased really meant. The drizzle had turned into a steady, miserable rain by the time I reached the penthouse. I didn't bother turning on every light, just the soft glow of the entryway sconces and the warm, under-cabinet LEDs in the kitchen. Enough to see where I was going, not enough to chase away the shadows. I needed the shadows tonight. I poured a glass of the 2015 Bordeaux. I'd been saving for a celebration that never happened. The first sip tasted like regret wrapped in velvet. I carried it to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac. The city lights blurred through the rain-streaked glass, turning the skyline into something impressionistic and distant. My phone buzzed on the marble island. Brenda, 11:47 p.m. All instructions executed, Mrs. Dixon. Supplementary cards, Elias, Vivian, Tiffany. Blocked at 10:14 p.m. Utility suspension notices sent. Electricity. Water, internet, cable. Effective midnight. Anchor group funding withdrawal for Dr. Whitlock's project. Email sent to Georgetown University President's Office with ethics clause citation. Copy to Elias. Johns Hopkins. Kidney transplant file withdrawn. Appointment canceled. They confirmed receipt at 11:32 p.m. Security team dispatched to Villa. Locks changed. Fingerprint system reset to you and the children only. Personal items boxed and placed curbside. Mercedes impounded and relocated to company lot. Are you sure about the hospital part? It's irreversible. I stared at the last line for a long moment. Then I typed back, yes, irreversible was the point. Thank you, Brenda. Go home. I'll see you in the office tomorrow at 9. I set the phone face down and finished the wine in 3 slow swallows. Sleep didn't come. I sat on the balcony instead, wrapped in a cashmere throw, watching the rain fall on the glass railing. Every drop reminded me of that wedding night, mud on my hem, rain in Elias's hair, his promise ringing like prophecy. Suffer with me now, and when I succeed, I will repay you 1,000 times over. I laughed into the dark. A dry, hollow sound. He had succeeded in a way, just not the way either of us imagined. At 3:17 a.m., Brenda's final email arrived with attachments. Screenshots of blocked transaction attempts. Security camera stills of Vivian pounding on the villa gate. Tiffany screaming at the lens. Elias arriving in a taxi with Chloe, clinging to his arm like a life raft. I didn't open the photos. I didn't need to. I already knew how betrayal looks when it's stripped of lighting and dignity. The next morning I dressed in charcoal Armani, tailored, sharp, unapproachable. Concealer hid the shadows under my eyes. Mascara made them look like weapons instead of wounds. I drove to the international school first. Marcus and Sasha were waiting outside the early pickup gate. Marcus spotted me immediately, his small face serious. Sasha ran, arms wide. Mommy. I knelt despite the pencil skirt and let her crash into me. Marcus hung back a step, studying my face the way only a 10-year-old who's already seen too much can. Daddy's not coming? He asked quietly. I brushed Sasha's hair from her eyes. Not today, sweetheart. Today it's just us. Ice cream? Sasha cheered. Marcus didn't. At the Park Fountain Cafe, I let them order whatever monstrosities they wanted. Triple scoop with sprinkles, whipped cream towers. While they ate, I watched their faces instead of speaking right away. Finally, Marcus set his spoon down. I know about Chloe, he said. The air left my lungs. How long? Since February. He smiles different when he texts her. I saw her name once. Chloe Student. He got mad when I asked. Sasha looked up, lower lip trembling. Grandma says I'm useless like you. Aunt Tiffany takes my toys and laughs when I cry. I pulled them both into my lap, heedless of melted ice cream on silk. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. Marcus rested his forehead against mine. I want to live with you. Just you. No yelling. No lying. Me too, Sasha mumbled into my neck. That was all I needed. I drove them straight to my parents' house in Bethesda. My mother took one look at my face and pulled me into the kitchen while Dad entertained the children with old board games. Tell me, she said. I did, every word. When I finished, she was crying, not loudly, just steadily, the way mothers do when their daughter finally stops protecting everyone else. We were wrong, she said. All those years telling you to be patient. We thought endurance was love. We were wrong. Dad came in, sleeves rolled up. You file the papers today. We'll take the kids as long as you need. And if that family shows up here, I still have my old service pistol in the safe. I almost smiled. I don't think it'll come to that. But I was wrong. By late afternoon, the security team's live feed showed the full spectacle at the villa gate. Vivian collapsed beside the cardboard boxes, clutching her chest. Tiffany screamed at the guards until her voice cracked. Elias arrived with Chloe. He banged on the iron bars until his knuckles bled. When the electricity cut at midnight, the exterior lights died. The house went dark, like a ship losing power at sea. I didn't watch for long. I had a lawyer to meet. Mr. Sterling handled the divorce meeting the next day in a quiet coffee shop near campus. I didn't attend. I didn't need to see Elias's face when he realized the numbers. Later, Sterling called. He signed. Mutual consent. Full custody to you. No alimony, no asset claim. He walked out with nothing but the clothes on his back and the girl on his arm. And the university? Suspension notice went out this morning. Funding pulled. Mercedes repossessed in the courtyard. Students filmed it. He's trending on the campus subreddit as Professor Kept. I exhaled. Good. 3 years passed like pages turning in someone else's book. The villa sold in 48 hours. Cash buyer, no contingencies. I moved the children to Laguna Beach, California. Ocean air, white sand, a new house with floor-to-ceiling windows and no memories attached. Anchor Group expanded. 52 locations now, coast to coast. I hired people smarter than me and learned to delegate. I slept through nights again. Marcus is 13, captain of the robotics team. Sasha is 11, writes poetry that makes me cry when she lets me read it. They never speak Elias's name, not out of fear, out of choice. They chose peace. One evening I stood on the balcony, chamomile tea in hand, watching the sun melt into the Pacific. The breeze tasted like salt and freedom. My phone pinged. A Google alert I'd never canceled. Former Georgetown professor Elias, Whitlock and companion perish in tragic fall from D.C. apartment building. Apparent murder-suicide amid domestic dispute. Mother died of stroke en route to hospital. Sister believed to have fled country. I read it twice. Then I closed the alert. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I simply turned back to the ocean and breathed. The past had finally paid its bill. And I, Naomi Dixon, was no longer anyone's keeper. I was just a woman, standing in the sun, finally facing forward.